Hello guys, welcome back. Now we have the Xgen here, and this is suitable for high-res render, offline rendering, for movies or animated shorts. But if you want to get some hair into game engine like Unreal or Unity, then this is not gonna be very performant. Although it's possible that you can import this guy into Unreal or Unity. It's just gonna take a lot of time to actually import, and it's not gonna be very good for actual gameplay. So we need to create hair cards to fake the hair. To do that, we can still use the asset we created here. We just need to simplify it and create much lesser primitives, and then generate our hair cards based on that. Cool. So let me go back to the Xgen editor here, and what we can do here is go turn off all the modifiers, because we need to create a bunch of primitives, and those primitives are just for the hair cards, and they shouldn't need those clumping and noise and stuff. Okay, maybe we can have clump 1, but it's not that necessary. Anyway, so next step, go to the primitives, and we change the density to something like 1. So every individual strand here will be a hair card, so it's up to you to determine how many hair cards do you need. You can go for maybe 0.7 even to have lesser. Okay, but you need quite a lot of hair cards to actually get a decent result eventually. Let me go for 0.5 and see if that is enough. Okay, so when you're done with the density, you can go for the width of the hair. Let's change that to 3 instead of 0.03, and you can see we now have a bunch of cards. They're facing us all the time. So what you have to do here is go to the options and change it to not face camera. Now you can see we have those cards. Okay, so those can be just the card you use for the hair, but they have a lot of imperfections that needs tweaking. Like this one is, it's not quite doing what it's supposed to be doing. It should be more flat. Okay, so although it's kind of like okay, but it's not perfect. Okay, so we have many options to generate hair cards from this. One thing we can do is let me change the width to even higher, like 4. So one thing we can do is we can go to the preview and outputs. We can say output settings, operation, save it as or create geometry here, and then we don't place the UV in tiles. Oh, and also the primitive has its segment, modify CV count. We can change that to something like 10 or even smaller, like 8 for shorter hair cards. But we will lose detail, so maybe 10 to get something back. Just be conservative with the poly count. And then in the preview output, we can also go back to the output settings, and we don't need a joint for every individual hair strand. We're not rigging it, so turn that off. And then we can create geo. What it does is basically now creating a bunch of geometry, and we can use those as our hair cards basically. All right. Cool, so that's one option, and this is probably the easiest and fast way to get a bunch of hair cards. You can see it does need a lot of tweaking, like those hairs are flipped, so you probably need to go flip the normal direction on these guys that are wrong. Okay, and you also have to deal with the clipping problem that's happening all over the place. The best way to actually get some really nice looking hair cards is you place one by one, and instead of using Xgen or other tools, because those are not going to be as perfect as a manually placed hair card system. Okay, anyway, so that's just the one way. Okay, another way that you can use is, instead of doing this geometry, let me go ahead and add this one. Another way is instead of generating the geometry right away, you can also say, give me a Maya file, a Maya file. Okay, and I'm gonna pull this guy into, oops, where's my project folder? Let me find that folder real quick. All right, so what we can do is we can save this guy into our asset folder of the project, and then select folder. Cool, and then we can just go create my file. Okay, well this is us now. If I let me go ahead and hide the preview, and we can also don't update it automatically. We can go for file and then import our asset. Okay, you can change the file of type to mal and just choose that and then import. You can see now we got a bunch of curves. Okay, so you can convert the primitive to curves. All right, now what you can do is you can grab the curves, and then you can go ahead and download the Maya bonus tool. This is all free. Just search for Maya bonus tool and install it. It's gonna go through the process and install it, and you reopen Maya, and you will have this window called this menu called bonus tool. Yeah, if you don't have it, just go ahead and download it. Okay, and there's a modeling part, and we can create we can convert the curve to ribbon mesh. Okay, what this does is convert every individual curve into a ribbon. The good thing about this setup is that those ribbons are able to change their size, their orientation, and their tapering. So if you grab out the geometry here, and then you go to the channel box, and you can change their width, curvature, orientation, and even segments. So that's more like this is more like a more procedural way of generating. So you can you have this history here. You can tweak it anytime you want. So let's say I can change the width to something bigger. I can just drag that up. It's a little bit unresponsive. Maybe 2. Okay, and I can change the orientation on some of the hairs. Like for example, these guys here. I think I want those guys to face forward, because that's gonna give me a better looking root. Like that guy, I can change the orientation. You can see it can give me a very good representation of the hair if I make it facing me this way. Okay, but this requires a bit more work. You have to go through every individual one and tweak their orientation properly. But it's a very good workflow nonetheless, because you can tweak them. Okay. All right. And then you can also sculpt them if you wanted to. There's no problem with that. You can use sculpting, and then you can drag it to tweak the shape. Okay. Maybe take that guy's orientation and this guy's orientation, and then do a sculpting tool, and I can push this guy, grab, push this guy down and in. Okay, it still has that history. That means I can still tweak the orientation. Okay, cool. And then for these guys on the back, I can grab all these guys. Let me go ahead and hide all the curves. Okay, I can grab all these guys, and I can make them to have a different orientation. Maybe not that one. I can change the orientation altogether to make them facing the proper direction. Okay, maybe take this guy also. And then again, you spend some time fixing the clipping problem, especially for on the outside, as these guys are having some really bad clipping issue that you have to address. Just like sculpting guides, basically. And there will be some hair that doesn't have the correct orientation, so you just tweak it. Right. So long story short, you cannot get it for free, right? There's work to do to make it look better. Okay, You can see that's clipping already. So what I need to do is go to sculpting tool and then use grab and just drag that guy up. Okay. So you need to spend enough time in this stage to get everything to have the correct orientation and the correct order, so that the things, I mean, not clipping basically. So you need to tweak those guys to make them not clipping each other. Again, for the orientation of those guys in the front, you kind of want them to be orienting forward, so that when you have hair cards, you don't really see like layer by layer on the back in the middle, right? That's gonna make it look better. Okay, so maybe this guy can be tilted like that. Okay, it's not necessarily to be perfect. You see, there's problem when you are done with the texturing and you apply a texture. You apply the texture on. That's when you really see the problem. But for now, we're not sure yet if there's gonna be a big issue or not. But definitely spend time here to tweak it so it's better. Okay, so I'm gonna orient this guy, these guys, and that guy is not right either. And these guys are all flipped for some reason. So orient this guy to rotate them back. Okay, but if you really want to get serious, you place those cards one by one manually, and you can end up with lesser cards, better coverage. Basically, everything is gonna be better if you do it manually. It's just gonna take quite a lot of time though. All right. Oh, another thing we can do for these guys is that we can grab all the ribbon meshes, and there's another thing we can tweak, which is the curvature here. I change that to 1. And you can see what it does is giving them this really nice arc so that your hair can blend just a bit better. Okay. Although sometimes it's going in the wrong direction, so you need to tweak it. Okay. Yeah, so that's gonna make your hair fit or blend with each other better because of that curvature. Okay. But again, sometimes they're in the wrong directions. You need to tweak them. Okay. Because the orientation is 180, negative 180. If we change that to 180, nope, that's not gonna change it. Curvature. I can just use the curvature to tweak it. Yeah. So spend some time here. I'm gonna do this in between the videos, and then when I'm back, I will have most of the things, arranged in the proper orientation and fix the overlapping problem, and then we can jump ahead and talk about, other parts we need to prepare for the hair card to work. Okay, see you next time.